Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Hello, and welcome to our series of interviews with key figures and leaders of companies and organizations across the board to help you, our viewers, stay up to date about what is happening in the world of finance. I am Munir Barazi, your business analyst and host, and today I'm pleased to welcome Pat Duffy, the co-founder of The Giving Block, an organization that is making its impact on the philanthropy landscape by enabling nonprofits to accept crypto donations. Hello, Pat. It's very good to have you again on this show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
For sure. So let me jump right into it. You've recently released a report about crypto donations trends, and it seems there are many positive and interesting developments happening in this space. Tell us about the top highlights from this report.
Yeah, I think the report caught some folks outside of the nonprofit sector a little by surprise. I think people think of the nonprofits within the sector as a bit more skittish than even traditional financial institutions. But the main thing we saw last year was that more nonprofits got into crypto than any year in history, including 2021, when you had that Bitcoin bull market that pulled a lot of kind of outsiders into the space for the first time. Last year was definitely an interesting year if you're a crypto investor. If you have a decent amount of money plugged into the actual asset class, price volatility was a big concern. Prices dropped throughout the year, and then FTX, the scandal happened at the end. So I think the main takeaways from the report that people needed to see are we added over 1,000 nonprofits for the second year straight. It's the most nonprofits we've ever added. So charities understand that people are going to continue to give this way, kind of regardless of market dynamics. And then B, donors kept giving. So people thought the donor class would kind of disappear. It went from like a $10,000 average gift size to like a $6,000 average gift size. So there were definitely some impacts, but people continued to be tax incentivized to give this way, and people kept coming through the platform and making crypto donations.
Very interesting. And do you feel there is a change in perception when it comes to crypto donations? Because you just mentioned that people tend to view the sector as a bit skittish, as you said.
Yeah, I think what we definitely saw a decrease in last year versus 2021 was small nonprofits getting into crypto. But I actually think sometimes that tends to be good. There are lots of small nonprofits that we work with. The majority of groups we work with are small and mid-sized. But I think there is a tendency with things like cryptocurrency, AI, IoT, just like things that are compelling and cutting edge for small investors to kind of look at it as an opportunity to sort of get rich quick. And then sometimes small nonprofits to try to find something out at the cutting edge that will, like a scratch off lottery ticket, just kind of solve a lot of problems when they don't have some foundational fundraising best practices in place, a mobile optimized website, stuff like that. So I think the tendency is correct in that, we definitely saw a fall off in small nonprofits wanting to get into crypto. A lot of the inbound we see now are larger nonprofit brands. I think it's in the report, but something like of the crypto enabled nonprofits in the Forbes top 100 charities, I think like 80% are on the Giving Block now. So it's becoming more consistent. But for the big nonprofits, like you're saying about folks thinking they're skittish, I think the incentive model is just a little too powerful at this point for them to kind of walk away from. I think they see when crypto's up, there are tens of millions of people in the US with tax, a reason to pretty much give cryptocurrency over cash. It's just a more tax optimized donation method to give a appreciated non-cash asset. Larger nonprofits continue to follow that trend. And I guess the last piece on this, people forget that charities aren't investing in it, I guess would be the main thing. So people think that charities have to deal with the same concerns as developers who are investing energy and time and capital into developing solutions from scratch, or investors who are putting a lot of their capital into it and hoping for appreciation. Nonprofits are just, for the most part, on the sidelines, understanding that millions of people invest this way. And if they want to transfer their crypto to the nonprofit and have it automatically liquidated to cash, that cash goes to their mission just like anything else. So I think literacy, I guess, would be the final piece of that, would be a big piece. The nonprofit sector is finally understanding that their risk and exposure to the asset class is a lot less than, say, an investor.
So there's certainly an increase in awareness around this. And there is a clear tax incentive when it comes to nonprofits using crypto donations. What other drivers are there that are pushing this trend upwards?
Yeah, it definitely starts with tax, the same as stocks. It's kind of silly for people to not give assets in the nonprofit sector. It'd be similar to someone buying their groceries with stocks, like triggering a taxable event for no reason. Um, the driver there is if you give in the US in particular, a non-cash asset, stocks, crypto, et cetera, like a lot of the stuff we support, you give that to a charity, you don't owe taxes on it. So if you're giving $1 million from your bank account, you get $1 million write-off. You give $1 million of Bitcoin, you get that same write-off, but you just kind of erase, 200 grand or whatever your tax burden might be on top of that. So it's a massive reason for people to give that way. For younger donors, the other side of this is just that it's fun, like kind of plain and simple. And I think charities understand that, like in the same vein as gamification or, getting an account with Tiltify that uses Twitch for live stream fundraisers. Younger donors kind of need a reason to engage with these nonprofits when they're getting the same appeals, a letter in the mail that the grandparents were getting. It's just not converting younger donors at the same rate. The average age of a donor in the nonprofit sector continues to increase. Every couple of years they measure it, and for decades now, it just keeps getting older and older. Nonprofits kind of understand it's a younger donor engagement strategy. And if you are someone who's into cryptocurrency, if you're under the age of 30, I would say, millennials, Gen Zs type range, it's just a more exciting thing to engage with. And for them, in a way, the kind of a more institutional investor might get into Bitcoin as like a light diversification of their portfolio. Younger people, this is more of a kind of a cultural phenomenon. It's not just kind of their investment method, it's their interest area. Similar to what you saw with like the Wall Street bets trends, like people on Reddit and Twitter and Discord getting into this stuff. When people see nonprofits getting into cryptocurrency, they're like, oh, this is not just the donation method I'm looking for, but this is the content I like to consume and the community I'm a part of. Those things triangulate, and it tends to make these nonprofits, when they do a press release on crypto, it's their best performing of the year. Their social posts get more engagement. And younger donors just, more oftentimes than not, have an actual reason to give for the first time.
Fascinating. And what does all of those what do all of those changes mean for the organizations raising funds? Does that mean that there will be more projects getting implemented? And what does it also mean for the donors?
Yeah, for the nonprofit, any additional revenue stream is always good. This is kind of when we started in 2018, a lot of our framing was just kind of a why not accept crypto. Again, if you're an investor, you have to worry about prices going down, right? But if you're a charity and it automatically liquidates, investors are playing the game, trying to speculate on if the price will go up or down. But nonprofits are exposed to any of their risk. You're like, okay, so that's good. And then if you think about the donor engagement strategies, like time and energy investment to learn a bunch of new skills, this one requires very little. You kind of layer it into other options you're presenting to donors. Nonprofits just need to make it clear to their donors consistently that this is an option. So that doesn't take a whole lot of bandwidth. So in short, for some nonprofits, just even having the option and then showing it to their donors consistently, just exposing them to that as an option takes very little time, energy, and resources. And it's an opportunity for another revenue stream. And then for some nonprofits, like you're saying, what is the opportunity, the ultimate impact? When you kind of put the feelers out there, kind of set the hook in the water, when people start engaging with them more consistently than some might expect, someone like an orangutan outreach, where like 2/3 of their budget is coming in cryptocurrency, that becomes more transformative to your point. That means that like more orangutans over the course of however many years are going to get protected in Borneo in a way where they otherwise wouldn't have the resources to build what they need to build from a sanctuary standpoint. For someone like American Cancer Society, they did the Cancer Crypto Fund. They raised $1 million in crypto. That's, again, an injection of capital that would otherwise not exist. But yeah, so for the nonprofits, it's either kind of a light diversification, a tool, something you pop onto a donation form and you float out to your donors every now and then to generate a little more capital. And for some nonprofits, it's a transformative additional revenue stream that means your impact is going to be felt more widespread. And then on the donor side, I think it's for younger donors, again, back to this, because we kind of harp on a little bit. it's a reason for them to give major gifts that otherwise wouldn't exist. In the nonprofit sector, a major gift is just a big donation. Younger donors tend to just get asked for $10 a month with a credit card because that's what the data tells nonprofits they should be asking for. But that's largely because they're not exposed to non-cash asset giving methods. So stocks kind of skipped younger donors. They're on Robinhood. They're doing their tax on TurboTax. They're not working with advisors who inform them of this non-cash asset donation method, kind of tax offset maneuver or the arbitrage move, and then taking your cash and buying more of your crypto, your stocks, et cetera, after making a donation. There's maneuvers that kind of the older, more high net worth class of donors have always been using. It's a huge percentage of gifts in the sector, and younger donors have been left on the sidelines. The stocks piece kind of skipped younger donors because there wasn't as much of a cultural attachment. But with crypto, it seems like it's opening younger donors up to this idea that I don't just have to give $10 with a credit card. Like this can be something that's, part of my impact. It's part of my legacy, but it's also just a really smart financial move on an annual basis to, as I look at my tax burden, think about what organizations I want to support, what charitable contributions I can make to make it so I'm not just making bigger gifts on an annual basis, but I'm paying less taxes, which is great for them, building a life, getting a house sooner, et cetera.
And by this method, you've opened up a new segment of younger donors to nonprofits, and it's easy and efficient and allowing positive projects to be implemented for beneficiaries. Based on your insights from the report, what are your forecasts for the future and what excites you the most about that?
Yeah, I wish growth in crypto was linear.
We all wish that.
Everyone, anyone who has that, wishes a straight line up. There's going to be, of course, a lot of volatility, but per the forecast piece, we have something called a crypto philanthropy adoption index, and put simply, it's pretty much taking the average price of Bitcoin high lows over any month. We look back like 10 years. I think we end up using a 5-year data set, so it doesn't include too much of that early growth that can't be expected moving forward. But we take average monthly price of Bitcoin versus how much donation volume we see in cryptocurrency in that same month. And we peg the two together to see if pretty much, let's say the price of Bitcoin goes down 3 months straight, but crypto donations stay flat. That would be a positive crypto philanthropy adoption index trend. That would show that like the giving is holding up in a way the market is not, versus if the market goes up a lot and crypto giving doesn't go up as much. That would show that it would be a negative impact on the adoption index. It would show that the growth of the market is outpacing the growth of giving, and maybe it would trend a little less aggressively. So by doing that, we pulled that together. We finally created our first forecast after tracking that for a while. And we're forecasting that we'll be able to generate $1 billion in crypto donations by 2027, which is fantastic. We've done 125 million so far, so it's not a super aggressive forecast. And it just kind of shows a path to crypto philanthropy becoming a multi-billion-dollar donation method in relatively short order. And in about a 10-year time frame, it forecasts about $10 billion in crypto giving over the next decade. Again, it's a long period of time, so it's relatively conservative. Billions have already been given over the last 5 years or so. But the growth trend is positive, and it shows that crypto giving is growing a lot quicker than the market, mostly just because, as you'd expect, it's a bit younger and still needs to mature.
This is very good. And given the increasing interest in crypto donations and the forecasts you just mentioned, are you prepared to handle the increasing demand for raising funds for important projects through your organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. We have a much less scalable model than a lot of other giving platforms. The main reason being nonprofits who have kind of a donate crypto option don't really get donations for the reasons we just discussed. Like younger donors don't really think of non-cash assets as a giving method unless actively prompted to do so. And nonprofits aren't used to that. Nonprofits are used to kind of sending donors to a donation form and letting them pick from kind of a pile of options. So a lot of our team is built around kind of strategy. We run crypto campaigns. We run Crypto Giving Tuesday every year. We launched that in 2019 with the Giving Tuesday Foundation. That was one of our kind of big milestone areas. We have a directory of all the charities we support, almost 2,200 nonprofits now. that are fundraising crypto with their own profiles, and they pop campaigns off that. We bring in match dollars, and we have a crypto giving pledge for the industry. People like Tony Hawk and Rainn Wilson, who's Dwight from The Office, taking that. Our team is, in short, kind of built to provide like a lot more than a technical solution, but like build all this connective tissue between crypto users and nonprofits. And a lot of it comes down to really actively encouraging nonprofits, coaching them, webinars, group training sessions, one-on-one strategy to kind of plain and simple add crypto as an option to an email they're sending out, or make it discoverable on their website, or float an announcement out when there's a big crypto milestone hit, to just kind of keep their donor base aware of the option and giving consistently. We're definitely prepared to grow with the client base that we support. But a lot of it comes down to how scalable we can make some of those strategies, and the nonprofit sector buying into, I would say, viewing cryptocurrency stocks, the two donation methods we support, as more donor demographics, fundraising areas than donation methods. If the nonprofit sector continues to view crypto as a donation method, like a button they can pop on their site and wait for gifts to come in, I think it's going to really slow growth, and it's going to be hard for nonprofits to generate adequate amounts of revenue via crypto, because the option just simply won't get discovered or used.
Well, you're on an admirable mission, and hopefully you'll achieve a lot of success. Pat Duffy, the co-founder of The Giving Block, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all of those insights and updates. We look forward to seeing you again on this show and sharing more updates with our audience.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.